Okay, I made this worksheet yesterday, and this worksheet is actually from Britain because I found it online. So some of the words are going to be spelt a little bit differently, and they're also going to call things just some interesting words. Like if you look down at number 7, it says, nope, not number 7. Number 8, which is not on this slide. If you look at number 8, they say tidal bore. So I've never heard of that before. Have you all heard of that before ever? Okay. I'm assuming that's an English word. But anyways, this problem right here comes from an Algebra 2 like a book from Britain. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Number 1, for each function, determine f of 4, f of negative 5. And I went ahead and canceled out the negative 2/3 just because it's kind of redundant. But if you're looking right here, this is not multiple choice. Some people keep thinking that this is multiple choice, and this is not. You have to do it for each problem. So let's look at number 1. Let's go ahead and do A. And we're going to do 2/5 x plus 11. Now, what are we going to put in first for x? 4. We want to put in 4 because it says f of 4. And the way that we show that notation, we would say f of 4 equals what? 2/5 times 4 plus 11. Okay? Now, you might not be able to use a calculator for this part on the EOC, but I just want to show you how you do put fractions in your calculator. So I need everybody to pick up their calculators right now. We will not be using the fraction button at all in our class. We're going to be using it, well, not the fraction button. We're going to use the parentheses. And what I'm going to show you for calculator, you can actually use for graphing calculators as well, okay? So this just doesn't apply to this calculator. It could apply to calculators you're going to see from here on out. Now, the way that you need to put this in, whenever you go ahead and put in 2/5, you're going to do open parentheses. So everybody do that. And open parentheses is above the number 8 in your calculator. And then you put in 2/5 as 2 divided by 5. And then do close parentheses. Now press the time symbol, and the time symbol is going to come up as a little star. 4, and then plus 11. And what do you get when you put that in your calculator? 12.6. So we're going to go ahead and round and just say that this is about 12.6. What's our about symbol look like? Yeah, like bacon kind of. Okay, just the about and 12.6. Now let's go ahead and do f of negative 5. So once again, I'm just going to put negative 5 in for every x I see. But instead of writing it right here, go ahead and just put it in your calculator. So in your calculator, you would put 2/5 times negative 5 plus 11. And tell me what you get. We get 9. Okay, so it wasn't rounded to 9. So then do we need the squiggly lines if it's not rounded? No, it can be an exact symbol. All right, so that does it for A. How about y'all go ahead and y'all do part B by yourself? I'm going to pause the video, but y'all try part B by yourself. Okay, for this problem, if we wanted to put in f of 4, how am I going to do that? Yes, make all of the x's be 4. So f of 4, now watch how I'm doing this. 3, open parentheses, 4, and then you're going to square it, plus 2 times 4 plus 1. It should look exactly like this in your calculator. So make sure you have it. Notice, technically, whenever you're subbing in numbers, you're always supposed to put them in parentheses. That's just good math practice, okay? That's why you're getting confused, because whenever you have negatives and you don't put it in parentheses, then you get the wrong answer. So we're looking right here. If you put this in your calculator, what do you wind up getting for your answer? What'd y'all get? No, for the first one. 57. Raise your hand if you got 57. Good. This is 57. The square key on your calculator is actually, it's right next to the 7. You see how it says x squared? So if you just put in the number, like, let's say you wanted to put in 5 squared. So you would do 5 and then hit that button. Got it? Y'all, this is the same these are the same calculators you're going to use during the EOC. Yes. That's because you have to continue going with it. You only put this piece in. You got to put in all the pieces. All right, so if I'm going to go put in -5, and I don't care if you've already done this by yourself, but let's go ahead and do it as a class to make sure that you know how to put it in. So how do I need to represent -5? I need to have it in what? Yeah, and put them in parentheses. So -5 squared plus 2 times -5 plus 1. Do it just like that, because in your calculator, if you do not have this -5 around parentheses, it's going to give you a different answer. It's not because your calculator is wrong. It's because the person putting it in the calculator is wrong, all right? So you always need to put parentheses around it. And what do you wind up getting, guys? 66. Very good. So that's our two answers. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's skip down to D. Why does that one look funny? Because why?
There is no other variable.
You have to speak to the microphone. Say it.
There is no other variable.
Very good. Beautiful. Okay, there's no other variable. So, if there's nothing for us to plug in, what do y'all think the answer is? Say it loud so the microphone can hear you. -6. You're right. You're geniuses. It's just -6 because there's nothing to plug in. So that means for each of our functions, no matter what number we're putting into our function, our output will always be -6. Y'all see that? So you could write f of 4 is going to equal -6. And then if I plugged in -5 into the same function, I would still have -6. Y'all understand? Yes, yes. This is like, you're finding the answers for all of them. Yeah, this is not multiple choice. And the reason why we want to find the answers for both of them in this problem is because this problem asks for f of 4 and f of -5. Okay. Yes, to put the square root symbol in your calculator, you're going to hit the second, which is the light blue key, and then you hit the x squared key because that has the mark. Raise your hand if you got an answer. All right, I want you to look next to your friend, see if they're struggling with putting it in the calculator. See if they got it, if it looks the same in their calculator as you have it in your calculator. Did you get it? Okay, so on 3, I want you to tell me what f of -5 should be for -5 plus 5. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
0.
Oh, beautiful. 0. And did we really need a calculator for this? No. We would know it's a square root of 0. Square root of 0 is 0. Okay, let's scroll down to number 2. Number 2, they want to figure out what's the domain, what's the range, what's the relation. Oh, no, not that one. That's number 3. How do I determine the domain of ordered pairs? It's the what coordinates? The x coordinates. And how do I want to list them? Do I just list them any way I want or what? Okay, but how do I list them in my problem though? Yes, in order from least to greatest. Now, if you want to on your test Friday, you can also do this. It might help to cancel out, like as you're writing an x, put a little mark saying that, hey, I used that x. That way it won't confuse you. Okay? So for domain, we need our set notation. Remember, that's the fun little bracket thing. What's the smallest domain value that we have? And how many -5s do we have? But guess what? You only have to write it once. So -5, and I'm going to go ahead and just cancel out my -5s like that. That way I remember, hey, use them, don't need them. What's the next size that we have? -4. And then what, guys? -3. Okay, so then what are we going to have after -3? All right, friends, we're getting confused. Domain is our what coordinates? And where is the x coordinate at, guys? It's the first in the parentheses. So what are the x's that I have left? 1, 3, and 8. So who would come next then? And then who is going to come next then? And then 8. I didn't leave you much room, sorry. And look, I'm just canceling them out. Alright, I'm going to change colors just so you can see it a little bit easier as I'm writing it. But the range is the what coordinates, y'all? The y coordinates. What is the smallest y coordinate that you see? -6. And remember, if you can't see it on the board, you need to be looking at your paper because it's on your desk. What's the next? And then the next. 1, 6. And how come I don't have to write 8 twice? Very good. And then what are we going to do? Put in our inset notation. Oh, there's a 9. Thank you, Christian. Very good. Function. Is this a function? Yes or no? Why is it not a function? Which x coordinate repeats? -5. So it's not a function because -5 repeats. What if a y coordinate repeated, like 8 repeated? Does that matter if it's a function or not? No, only x's can repeat. You're right. Correct. Very good. Okay, let's look at number 3. Move it up some. Okay, number 3 right here. I want the domain for this problem. Yes, and actually before we do domain, I didn't see this. I need the relation. What does relation mean? Relation is your what? Beautiful, Jasmine. It's your set of ordered pairs, right? So what is my first ordered pair in this relation? -4, 6. What's my second ordered pair? 3, 6. What's my next ordered pair? And my last ordered pair? Very good. Now from here, since I mapped it, or I put them together, what's my domain going to be? Okay, so I heard some people say -4, 3, 1, and 5, and then I heard some people say something differently. How come it's -4, 1, 3, 5? Very good. It needs to be in order. -4, 1, 3, 5. Range would be what? Only the number 6. And even though it's repeated 4 different times, do I need to write it 4 times? No, I can just write it how many? 1. So just put 6. And is this a function, yes or no? Yes, it is a function because why again? The x coordinates don't repeat. Does it matter that my 6 repeated? No, that's not what makes it a function. All right, I want you to pick up your highlighters. Pick them up, pick them up. And we're going to highlight the equation of our function in this problem. So what is our equation for this one, y'all? All right, I love this problem. I think it really requires a lot of brain, a lot of thought on our part. Yeah, a lot of brain power, I meant. Okay, so let's look at A. Once again, this is not multiple choice. This means you have 4 separate answers. And if we read it, it says a linear function machine, because they love talking about functions with machines. A linear function machine uses a function of the form f of x equals a times x. Here you go, in math. Anytime you see the letter A, normally that will represent a number. It will be a constant. Even in college, if you see A with an X, that's symbolic. They're thinking of it symbolically. A is going to be a number. You got it? Okay. So it says find the value of A for each given point on the function and then write the defining equation of the function. So let's look at A. I have the point 3, -12. So what point would I be plugging into my function? 3. What should I get out of my function? -12. So we have to decide, if I put 3 in for x, what does A have to be in order to give me -12? How many of y'all agree it's -4? Very good. Y'all caught on fast. So since that's -4, that means my function would be f of x equals -4x. Right? That's the function, because if I put in 3, I'm going to get out negative 12. You see that? Easy. Yeah, easy breezy. All right, B. Raise your hand if you know what my equation should be for B. Miss Gabby. F of x equals what? 3x. Raise your hand if you agree with her. Anybody disagree with her? What do you think it should be? Okay. Yes. No, my next equation, this is B. This is where we're just starting at, B. Which right here means f of x equals 3 times x. Because if I put in 5 into this function, I have to get out 15. You're just changing. This right here, you do it for this problem, then I'm going to do it for this problem, then I'm going to do it for this problem, and then this problem. No. You start each one with the a that you're supposed to find. For C, if I put 1 into x, what do I have to have in order to get out 2/3? What does a have to be? 2/3. So f of x equals 2/3 x, right? And you can check it again. Because 1, if I put it in, I'm going to get out 2/3 for y. Y'all see that? Okay, raise your hand if you can figure out what D should be. What's my equation to match that function? Okay, he said f of x equals negative 1x. Is he right? Okay, what's another way we can write that, though? Very good. We could also say f of x equals negative x. All right, now this will not be on your test, but it's good to know how to do this, because if you can understand this, then you understand what it means to be a function. You got it? Now make sure you have your highlighters handy, because we're going to be moving on to word problems, and we're going to do number 7 first. Now these problems, they try to make it look extremely complicated because they give you a ton of information in here, but we kind of did this at the beginning of the year. Do y'all remember? And we're going to highlight our equation that they give us first. What is the equation in this first problem, y'all? Okay, go ahead and highlight that. That's our first equation. Now, what is the question asking? It says, how fast is a car traveling if skid marks are 12.2 meters long? So, we need to see where that 12.2 would go, and we figure that out by reading the problem. So, it says the length D in, now that should be meters, but remember I told you I got this from a different country. That's why it's like this. D in meters of a tire skid mark, so D meters, I'll highlight that, created by a skidding car traveling at V kilometers per hour. So what am I given in my question? I'm only given my D, right? Right here. That's the value I'm given. Do y'all see that? I said, how fast is a car traveling if skid marks are 12.2 meters long? The meters match the what? The D. So all you have to do is just substitute 12.2 in for D. So you're going to say V of 12 equals 12.6 times the square root of 12.2 plus 8. You see? All we did was substitute it in. So basically for these problems, you're just figuring out what's my equation and what number am I substituting in. Sometimes they'll give you like a paragraph long story about how wonderful this equation is and what wonderful things you can do with it. But at the end of the day, find what your equation is and ask yourself, what do I just need to substitute in? All right? All right, this should have been 12.2 actually for V. That was my bad. My mistake. All right. So what are we going to do? How can we put this in our calculator? 12.6, so put that in there, 12.6 times, and how do we do the square root? What do we put? Second, and then you hit your x squared key. Where does your parentheses need to stop? How come it needs to stop after 12.2? Right, that's our radicands. Is 8 part of our radicand? No, so it should say +8. So look real quick before you press enter. I want you to check your friends around you, see if they actually put it in correctly into their calculator. Look real quick. Is anyone struggling putting this in their calculator? So what does it round to? 52.1, and we're going to go ahead and say kilometers per hour, because remember it's V. You got it? So these problems are very, very, very simple. All you're doing is figuring out where's my function equation and then just plugging it in. Understand? She got 56.6. Did she do it correctly? No, you should get 52.1. Okay, we have this problem. Once again, remember, this is from England, so that's why it's going to be a little bit different. It says, rivers located near an ocean experience a large wave called a tidal bore due to the tides. How many of y'all have heard of that before, a tidal bore? Yeah, I think it's like a tidal wave. The speed V in kilometers per hour of the tidal bore in a river is a function of the depth D in meters. Again, remember, it's how they're spelling it. And the function is this equation right here. So what do we need to go ahead and highlight? Good. Highlight your units. And what else do we highlight? The equation. Now, what is my question asking for? What is the speed when the depth is 3? How can I figure that out? Good. You're just substituting in 3 for D, correct? So V of 3, right, equals 11.27 times the square root of 3. Go ahead, put that in your calculators, round it, and give me an answer. What do y'all have? Okay, what is it? 19 point kilometers per what? Hour. Okay, this is the last question that I'm going to record on the flip chart, but we're going to finish up the worksheet together. We're still going to do 10, 11, and 12 together. But right now we're just going to do number 9. All right, so on Earth, the time t in seconds taken for an object to fall from a height h in meters to the ground is given by the formula, that wonderful thing. On the moon, the formula changes to this wonderful thing. Why is this problem different than what we've done before? Yeah, and it has 2 formulas. So let's go and highlight both formulas. The first formula is for what, y'all? The what? The Earth. What's the second formula for? The moon. Very good. So we have 2 problems we have to figure out then. So it says, how long would it take an object to fall 12 meters on the Earth? And then on the moon. And since I wrote it, I was kind of lazy. I could have probably put the same object on the moon. All right, so how long would it take an object to fall 12 meters on the Earth? Raise your hand if you know which equation I need to plug the 12 into. The first equation or the second equation? Actually, hold up your fingers. If you think the first equation, hold up 1 finger. If you think the second equation, hold up 2 fingers. All right, how come we're plugging it into the first equation? Yeah, because this is the Earth equation. And this is the moon equation. All right, so Earth, moon. All right, what would I go ahead and plug in? What am I plugging in for H? 12 meters. Go ahead and underline that. It's the number that they give you. So what would our equation be when we go to write it? For Earth, it's going to be what? Yes, square root of 12 over 4.9. What about my equation for the moon? Very good. 12 over 1.8. So all you're doing is substituting 12 in for your h. Is there anything hard about that? No. Probably the most difficult part is putting it in your calculator. So let's go ahead and put this first one in our calculator together. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do second, and then hit your x squared button. How do I put a fraction in my calculator? Yes, I'm going to do 12 divided by 4.9, and then what do? Close the parentheses. What are you going to get? So it's about what? 1.6 meters, right? Or no, this is actually asking for seconds, so 1.6 seconds. All right, and then the moon. So if you put it in your calculator, some of y'all obviously did that faster. Awesome. And what do you get? 2.6 seconds. Any questions about this? Just understand that when you have a word problem, the only thing you really look for is the equation, and then you're subbing in the piece of information they're giving you in order to find what they want. Does everyone understand that? Are there any questions about that? Perfect.